Welcome to the Baynet's coverage of the 2016 general election. I'm Dick Myers, and with me today is Mark Arness, who's a Republican candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives in a seat that's been held by Democrat Steny Hoyer, it seems like almost forever. I think he told us when I interviewed him, this is his 19th election. So.
Yes, 35, going on 36 years.
36 years, yeah.
18 re-elections.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us kind of a little bio.
Oh, I'm a retired doctor. I live in Calvert County. I've been here now 13 years, so I'm still a newcomer. Mm-hmm. But I've got to know Southern Maryland pretty well, and we really love it here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I hope you don't mind me asking this question, but I think the people should know about it. In 2008, you were court-martialed from the United States Air Force, and in 2014, you appealed that decision and you lost. So I'd like you right up front to tell our audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, the charges centered around allegations of absences which occurred on federal holidays and weekends when there was no duty. And so although no one else was in the office, I was later punished for not coming either. Mm-hmm. The process is highly prejudicial, and it's one of the issues that I want to address. If I get elected, we want to take better care of our veterans and afford them true due process, which they're entitled to as citizens, which apparently we don't have this now. You give up these rights when you raise your hand to volunteer.
So did this lead you to be mustered out of the Air Force because of that?
Oh, yes, but I went through a procedure and process and became honorably discharged and have a full pension.
Oh, do you?
Yes, okay. Yes, oh yes. So, these matters are really bygones, but I think it draws attention to how important it is that we take better care of our veterans. Mm-hmm. During the process, I actually wrote to Mr. Hoyer and asked for his assistance in this matter. And I got a form letter back that said that he couldn't help. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the important issues I think that I like to address in the campaign.
So I guess people know about this. So have you heard from other ex-servicemen that have been in similar situations?
Yes, very many. It's a very common problem, I think. And you hear all these horror stories about servicemen that have gone over to the desert, the Gulf, or fought, and then come back, and they've had health issues and adjustment problems, and then been, punitively treated by their commands, and then discharged without benefits, and then they struggle for years to try to recover these benefits and to be recognized for their service. So it's really unfair.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've mentioned that Congressman Hoyer's been in office for a long time, and he touts what he has done for the bases in Southern Maryland. We've interviewed him before we interviewed you, and he talked about jettisoning the windmill and about BRAC and helping the bases to increase. So my question is, has he been responsible for this? And I mean, is it a personal thing, or could it have happened to anybody that was in office? Could they have done the same thing?
Well, Congress is actually barred from interfering with the BRAC process. That's a completely independent procedure. It's the base realignment and closure system, right. For those that aren't familiar with what that means. But the BRAC is an independent committee that determines which bases remain open and which will be closed. The bases that we have here in Southern Maryland at Indian Head and here at Lexington Park have been determined to be vital national security. And so they would remain open and continue to be funded regardless of what the incumbent considers.
Should the bases be concerned about another BRAC?
Well, there's always cause for concern, but the mission at these bases is vital. It's very important, and they're engaged with national defense security at a number of levels. It's a multifaceted joint operation. So I think that the likelihood of a base closure here is actually small.
So if you're elected to Congress, what would your subject interest be? What committees would you like to be on? What issues would you like to bore down with, to deal with specifically?
Well, I'm a doctor, and one of the real significant problems that we face now is this healthcare business. And there's no doubt that the Affordable Health Care Act really doesn't offer affordable care. In fact, most people's health care has either doubled or even tripled the cost of insurance policies. And, I found out myself the other day, the price of prescription medication has become astronomical because it's become deregulated. It's outrageous, the pricing of these things. Common medications, some antibiotics that have been in the formulary for 70 or 80 years since they were invented back in the 40s. These things were a nickel a tablet, now they're $5 a tablet. Why is that? I asked the pharmacist over here at the Walmart the other day. I had to pick some things up and they wanted $380 for a bottle of these tablets.
Oh my goodness.
I had a prescription. I said, how could it be so much? These things are a nickel. He goes, well, they were a nickel until, a few months ago, and now they're $5. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, because the drug companies have discovered that they can charge whatever they like.
So should ACA be eliminated completely or just revised?
Well, I think that, as a pilot, I can tell you that every bad landing starts with a bad approach. And we've been on a really bad approach for a number of years on this. And it's not going to lead to a good landing. It's not going to be a soft landing. Insurance companies actually have now publicly confessed that sometime in 2017 or 18, the whole scheme is going to collapse because they can't generate enough income from it to fund the insurance programs. So not only is it unaffordable for the consumer, for the patients, but the insurance is now losing money off it. Mm-hmm. So it's completely unsupportable and it's unsustainable. And so I'm afraid that this approach is going to end up in a crash landing. And I don't think that it can be revised. I think it has to be repealed, and then we have to adopt new legislation for a true national health care plan. What we have now is 50 different health care plans. And every state has its own Medicare, its own Medicaid, and then all the insurance programs that operate inside these states also have their own tailored programs for each state. They're not portable. We need portable health care where you can travel from New York to Florida or Maryland, Virginia, and your insurance card will be valid and recognized in any emergency department or hospital that you need attention. We don't have that now.
So would the government run that or the insurance companies?
Well, it needs to be some government regulation of it. As a conservative, I try to adopt the approach of minimizing government interference, but you have to have some regulation, and it's going to have to be a joint effort between the feds and the insurance companies, but it's got to be a different program than the one we have. This one was tailored by insurance companies and has backfired.
Everybody whose name's on the ballot in November gets asked this question just simply because it's out there. So, who are you supporting Mr. Trump in the presidential race, and if so, why?
Well, I haven't endorsed any other candidates, but of course, as a Republican, I'll vote a straight ticket, and I'll support the other Republican nominees.
Are you concerned about any aspect of the presidential race?
Well, I really can't comment on other candidates' qualifications. I know there's been a lot of things in the news about what's going on with Donald, but there's also been a lot of things about what's going on with Hillary. Mm-hmm. And I haven't endorsed her either, nor am I going to comment about her failings as far as. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You mentioned about the ACA crashing. How about Medicare and Social Security? What do we need to do about that?
Well, Medicare, as I mentioned, we don't have a Medicare program, we have 50. And so we need to have a portable Medicare program that's standardized. For example, my mother recently passed. She was living in Virginia for many years. And I discovered during the course of her care plan and managing that we wanted to bring her here to Maryland. You couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. It was tremendously complicated. We would have to fill out 200 forms, wait 9 months, and then try to find a placement, and then transfer the Medicare program and the Medicaid program, and get these things not interchangeable. And so we couldn't get her. We couldn't get her over here, and so she had to stay there. And I think many people encounter this because the programs are not portable; they're not interchangeable, and we need to have a true national Medicare program if we're going to continue. And I think that the thing is so established. It was created back in the '60s by Johnson, and it's been it's become a valuable resource for folks that truly do need, terminal and end-of-life care, and that have complex problems. So I think that part of the program needs to be revised.
How do we take care of the funding problem? Should it be more of a needs-based system for Social Security as an example?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Should you have to justify Social Security benefits? Yeah, just giving money away willy-nilly doesn't solve any problems. So I think that having a needs basis and a justified consumption plan would make sense.
A lot of people say this, so I'm asking it, is Congress dysfunctional right now?
Well, let me just leave that to the people of the United States who have now given Congress, it's between a 10 and 12% approval rating. And yet these are characters that get reelected with a greater than 90, approaching 96% reelection rate. And so you ask, how is that possible? How can these people that have been so ineffective at legislating and providing programs that work for the American people, how can they keep getting reelected? And it's just name recognition. They keep voting for the names that they recognize. But then they complain bitterly about how little they do for us.
So why the low rating? I mean, is it not possible to satisfy the American public, or are they just so deeply divided that whatever you do, you can't?
Well, it's very divisive, but and it's also self-serving. The incumbents are principally concerned with their own reelection, and because we have a 2-year election cycle in the congressional offices, they really run continuous campaigns. The framers of the Constitution designed these short terms with the intent to have a high turnover and that the representatives would be truly representative of their constituents. But in fact, what we have now is the opposite. We have a system in which perpetual incumbents serving their own needs continue to run for re-election on a virtually continuous campaign. And so we need to have term limits. Congress should be term limited, the office of the president is term limited, and these others should be as well, including the justices of the Supreme Court.
So it must be really difficult running against someone that has been in office for so long in terms of raising money, getting supporters, campaigning in 5 counties. So if someone wants to help you both in making donations and also helping with their time, how do they go about doing that?
You can visit the website. It's www.arnessforcongress.com. And the contact information is there. There's a web form you can send webmail.
Okay.
And there's a contact number and then a donate button as well.
Okay. Is there anything finally you'd like to tell our audience I haven't asked you? That was important.
Well, it goes back to the term limits, I think. Really, the incumbent's been there now for 36 or is it 37 years, it's been an awfully long time. And the feedback I get from many folks as I go around the 5 counties here is you can't hardly get the time of day at his office. People feel like he's no longer responsive, and they feel like they're not being taken care of. And so I'd ask you consider giving the new fella a chance and see if you couldn't get a little better service, because when elected, I promise to answer the phone, answer the mail, and take care of my constituents.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice having you here today, and thank you for joining us on the Bayonets election coverage of 2016.